Okay, so make a start. So we're going to start with sitting. So sitting on a block, or you can use a book or something hard is better. Sitting cross-leg kneeling or legs out in front, whichever is better for you. So tonight we're going to be just looking at back care yoga. So welcome, thank you for coming along, for taking time out for back care yoga. And we're going to begin just with centering. So bringing the hands up into prayer. And just closing your eyes and taking a few nice long breaths. So breathing in from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. Breathing out back all the way to the tailbone, and just keeping this going a few times, just bringing your focus right into the body. Checking that you're nice and tall, so rolling the shoulders back and down, drawing in the core, and lifting up through the spine from the tailbone all the way through to the crown of the head. Let the breath flow for a few breaths. Just letting the breath be slow and natural. And then the next time you breathe out, we'll take the hands down, gradually opening your eyes in your own time. And just moving the shoulders. So tonight we're going to look at, the theme is about being supple in the body. So being supple, what do we mean? Well, it's about being able to move and bend and get flexibility, but also easily and gracefully. So we're going to look at ways we can do that in our practice and hopefully taking that into our daily lives. So we're just going to start with a little neck stretch. So taking the hands onto the thighs, lengthen up through the crown of the head. Check as well that you've lifted the hips and drawn the sit bones right back. So whichever way you're sitting, you want the lower back to be long and drawing in your core. And this will help you get more flexibility in the shoulders. So circling the shoulders round. Just easing your shoulders out. So you'll see I'm trying out this headset tonight because I think it might be clearer. So we're just going to test it out tonight. If you're having problems, I won't know because I can't hear you. So if everybody waves, if there's a big problem with the sound, then I'll see lots of hands. So then we're just going to take your right hand down, left arm all the way up, and just floating it over to the side. So you want to move with grace tonight, not with lots of effort, but maybe 50-60% effort is fine. And then coming all the way back around with the hand and then going to the other side. So exhaling to the other side. And then just float the arm all the way around again, bringing up the first arm, taking it over, just floating it over, feeling the opening in the side. And then circling it round. So nice, graceful, slow movements flowing with the breath. That's lovely. And then we'll move into the hands. So we're circling the hands so they're in fists. So you're just circling around your hands, feeling the movement now into your wrists. So inhale up, exhale down. So the arms stay in position and it's really just the hands that are moving. So try not to move your elbows or your arms or your shoulders. It's just the wrists. And then circling in the other direction. So exhaling down, inhaling up. That's lovely. And then we'll circle the thumbs. So just circling your thumbs around. So when we're thinking about being supple in the body, there's something that we can utilize, which is called synovial fluid. And I always think about it a bit like WD-40. So our body's like a well-oiled machine if we're moving regularly. And this synovial fluid is a bit like oil, and it actually helps to nourish the lining of the joints. Certain joints are synovial joints, and you might think, well, which ones? Well, about 230 of them. So we've got loads of them. So the more that we move the fingers as well, we can think about all the joints in the hands and the fingers. The more that we're moving in a nice kind of limbering way, the less stiffness that we'll have, because this will help keep us lubricated. So if you do feel stiffness, if you just have gentle movement is the best thing. And then we'll just shake out through the wrists. Lovely. So we're going to come to lying, just to ease your back out. So if you come to lying on your mat, and the feet hip width apart, lifting up your toes, stretching the toes out, check your feet are parallel, and then you're going to take your hands and just gradually lengthen down onto the ground. So you've got a nice long spine. Check you've got equal weight between your shoulders, and if not, you can push into one hand and just use that to help level things out. So I'm going to start with the pelvis, pelvic tilts. So you can take one hand below the navel and one above. And the hand below the navel, you want it to move up. So as you exhale, we're lifting up the tailbone. So just the bottom hand will move up, and then inhale, coming down. So the waist stays on the ground. So we're exhaling, coming up, inhaling, coming down. Of course, you might have a natural arch in your back. Everybody's different in terms of these arches, and a natural arch is fine in the lumbar. So pushing through the feet, exhale, drifting up, and inhale, coming down. So this action through the feet helps us move really nice and gently into the lower back. You can feel it stretching out as we tilt up the tailbone. So if you've got acute back issues, maybe stay with this, which is a little more passive way of stretching into the lower back. Otherwise, bring the hands to the ground. And then we're going to use the core now to do this. So very little effort through the feet and the legs this time, but squeeze in the core. So a bit like you're zipping up a tight pair of jeans. Squeeze the pelvic floor at the base of the pelvis, that figure of 8 of muscles. And then you're going to tilt up the tailbone using these core muscles, and then coming back down. So we're exhaling, squeezing, tilting up, inhaling, coming down, and just keeping this going with the breath. So exhaling up, inhaling down, and just keeping this going with your own breath flow, your own breath speed. You'll start to feel these core muscles really feeling as if they're drawing down towards the spine, and you'll notice how nice and long the lower back feels with the support of them. So day to day, if you're out walking, doing things that involve the lower back especially, think about drawing them in as you breathe out. And we don't want to keep them drawn in 100% day to day, because that would limit the breath, but maybe draw them in 60% and try and keep that support there. Now we're going to just let the hips rest normally. So we're going to draw in the core again, squeeze the pelvic floor. This time also draw the hips towards each other. So if you tap the sides of your hips and feel these drawing in like they're narrowing with the squeeze of the muscles, and then you're going to push up with the hips as you inhale. Draw the navel up to the ceiling, and then exhale, coming down. And it's really up to you and your own back how high you come. But you don't want to come more than a straight line from the collarbones to the knees, because we're just warming up at the moment. So just keeping this flow going with the breath. Inhaling up and exhaling down. And today we're thinking about being supple. So you want to imagine that you're moving in complete synchronicity with your breath. So a really graceful, flowing movement, very fluid, smoothing out any little jagged edges in the movement so it can be as flowing as possible. And if that means slowing it down over any little points here, that's a really good thing to do. And then we're going to bring our arms into it. So really gracefully and slowly bringing the arms back, just let the fingers float. behind you, and then exhale, bringing the arms back down as the back reaches the floor. So just keeping this going with the breath, inhaling up and back, and exhale, coming down to the ground. Just keeping this going with your own breath speed here as well. And then just one more. Lovely. And then letting the back rest, so your spine should be feeling nice and mobile. We'll take that now into your hips. You're going to bend up the right knee and cradle it with the right palm of your hand. And then you're going to circle around. So you want to imagine that your leg is like a joystick, and it's the hand and the arm that's doing the movement. So the leg is passive. You're feeling the weight of the leg dropping into the hip joint, and as you exhale, you go 1/2 a circle. Inhale, complete the circle. So you might want to start with some really small circles. And I really love to practice this way with these. So you start with a tiny circle, and then I want you to gradually spiral out. So each circle just gets a little bit bigger each time, but you're going slowly into that spiraling outwards. You may be feeling different parts of your hip here as you spiral. So it's like you're getting into every part here of this ball and socket joint. And then when you think you've gone as big as you can with that knee circling, then we'll circle in the other direction. Start with a big circle. Really taking your intuition into the joint, noticing how you feel, and then gradually making the movement smaller and smaller. Working within a range of movement that feels comfortable for you. And when you get to your small circle, we can bring the foot down, then letting your other knee come up and just cradling it with the left hand. So again, we're going to start with small circles in one direction. So 1/2 a circle is your inhale and 1/2 is the exhale. Noticing how it feels in the joint. Gradually spiraling bigger. Keeping the breath flowing nice and long. And then we'll go in the other direction, but again, starting with a nice big circle, very gradually coming in, a little bit smaller each time. It's nice to think about visualizing a spiral as you spiral all the way back in to the center, and then bring the knee down. So now into the hamstrings. These can be tight and can affect the position of the pelvis. So we're just going to draw in the right thigh, flex your foot, take the hand around the back of the thigh, and then if you draw the foot up towards the ceiling, and then I want you to push as if you're pushing the foot into the ceiling, but keep thigh and abdomen connected here, and you'll feel the muscle in the back of the hamstring working. Stretching, I should say. So you might get a bit of a shake, and that's absolutely fine. It just means it's working, so that's a good sign. We'll circle the foot, getting movement into the ankle joints. So tonight you can think about all the joints and how much movement there is through all the different yoga practices that we're doing, and how much you're oiling up your own body through these movements and then circling around the other direction. So lubricating the joints. And also, of course, the muscles working, which help protect the joints. So the muscles being strong and long and supple as well. And then bringing the foot down. And then we'll draw in your other thigh. Cradle with the hands at the back. Flex your foot. Draw the foot up towards the ceiling and keeping thigh and abdomen connected. So if we breathe in and try and make the out breath much longer than the in breath. So the out breath is the part of the breath cycle where we actually let go and stretch. So the longer we make it, the more effective the stretch is. And circling the foot. Nice big circles there into the ankle joint. Circling the other way. You can notice as you do these, if you've had any injuries, you might feel a little bit of stiffness in certain joints or muscles or even ligaments, etc. So always working within your own comfort zone. So what we call your edge. So in yoga, we never go beyond a feeling of slight discomfort. So just being aware of that in your practice. Now we're going to bring the hands around the back of the thighs. And I just want you to take the knees a little wider, flex your feet, and see if you can take the feet up and hold onto either the toes, or it could be just staying with the back of the thighs, just depending on what feels better for you. So this is the happy baby. Of course, we see babies doing this all the time, and they're pretty supple. So if you've got hip issues, just keep the feet a little closer. You can hold on to the shins if you want, and then we're going to have a little rock. So we're going to be doing a lot of moving around tonight, rocking from side to side. So all of this movement is very good for keeping the circulation going. When you go to one side, use the top hand to draw you back. Otherwise, you might feel you're going to have the feeling that you're rolling right over to the side, which is okay if it happens. But we're just trying to use the top hand to direct you to rock to the other side each time. This is really nice for feeling that the sides of the back are getting a massage out, and you're stretching into your hips as well. Lovely. And then bringing the feet to the ground. And so now we're going to just strengthen the core a little. So to do this tonight, we're going to lengthen out the right leg and flex the foot, and imagine that you're pushing the sole of that foot into an imaginary wall and pushing it away from you. So this will create space in the hip on the right side. So that leg is anchored to the ground and you're squeezing the muscles in the leg. And then the other leg, you want it to be a lot less active. You want it to be quite free and fluid. So on the exhale, keep it soft as you exhale and draw it in. Take your hand either around the back of the thigh or the front of the shin. And so we've got the right leg is down on the ground, really active, and the other leg is quite soft. And then we're just going to exhale, squeeze the core muscles and lift the breastbone as we come up. And inhale, coming down. So you want to keep your neck nice and long. So you're exhaling, lifting up. And inhaling, coming back down. Now if this feels a little strong on your back or your hip, you could bend the right leg instead and see if that helps. If you're feeling it in the neck, just do an imaginary lift if there's any neck strain, any neck issues. So just keep it coming up and down. So I'll make that 3. So we'll do 5 on each side. When you get to your 5th one, see if you can come up and just hold it there, just at the point where you feel the muscles squeezing. So we're not coming higher than that point. Take a few breaths. If you want, you can keep moving. And then coming down, and we'll swap over. So bending both knees. Just center your back. You might want to tilt your tailbone and just center the pelvis. And then lengthen out your other leg. Flex the foot. And then this time drawing in the right leg. Hand around the back of the shin or the front of the thigh. Really keeping that left leg very strong and active. Pushing the back of the leg into the ground. And then we're going to squeeze the core again. And then as you exhale, float up the breastbone and inhale, gradually coming back down. So coming up and thinking about the muscles contracting and just stopping where they contract, coming back down. And counting the number on this side. So again, we'll do 5. On your 5th one coming up, seeing if you can hold it. If that's a bit strong for your neck, then just keep lifting and lowering. Lovely. And then coming down. And then we'll just ease into the head and the neck. So taking the arms out to the side. Again, lift the tailbone, lengthen it down. And then we're going to keep the feet on the floor to begin with. So we're going to take the knees over to the right, looking over the left arm. So knees stay together and ankles. Coming back to center and then going to the other side. So we're looking away from the knees each time. So inhaling to center, exhaling to the side. Just repeat that side to side. So we get a nice massaging in the lower back. Now if you draw the knees higher, feet off the floor, if it's okay for your back. If not, stay with the feet on the floor. And then taking that side to side. Again, sandwiching the ankles and the knees together. So now you feel it's a bit stronger on the muscles wrapping around the sides of the trunk. Getting a nice opening, a nice rotation through the spine. Keeping all the joints, so many joints in the spine, keeping them really well lubricated with the support of the floor. And then the next time you come up, rolling over to your side, coming up to sitting. So we're going to look at a nice flow now, and I just want you to have some blocks handy if possible. So you've got a couple of choices here. So if it's possible for you to sit and kneeling, and I know it's not possible for everyone to sit back with your hips and kneeling. If it isn't, you could be in a high kneel instead, and you might want some supports under your knees. So I just want you to take some blocks under your hips if you are sitting back and kneeling. So you've got a nice high lift there. It can be a few blocks. Any type of block is fine. If it's these ones, you'll want to have it so that it's the long edges either side of the feet. And then we're just going to do a little flow. So I'm going to talk you through this flow. I'll talk you through each stage and then we're going to repeat it twice. So it's really about keeping flowing and mobile, so you can get a little bit creative with it and maybe move your shoulders a bit more than usual, move your hands a bit more than usual. So we're just going to come up with the arms, move through the sides of the trunk, drawing in your core and just lengthen the arms back a little. When we start doing it, you might feel a bit stiff in the shoulders, don't worry. And then we're going to inhale, taking the hands down, and then we'll all come up to high kneeling. If you're already in high kneeling, that's fine. Lengthen back on the inhale and exhale, flow the hands down and down into tabletop, all fours. And then from here, we're going to exhale into a cat. So we'll exhale into your deep arch, tuck under the tailbone and the chin. Just rock a little bit in the shoulders and in the hips. So we're keeping everything moving tonight. This idea of massaging out stiffness. And then we're going to inhale and looking up. Exhale back into the cat, arch. Inhale, traveling forward and looking up. And then coming back to a neutral tabletop. And then if we look to the right foot, so as a little arch in the side, back to center. And then on an exhale, look to the other foot. We'll do that once more each time and really try and flow as much as you can the second time you do the movement. Try and keep everything soft in the joints and then back to center. And then we're going to circle the hips. So exhaling back, inhaling forward, making sure that your knees are hip width apart. And then we'll go in the other direction. So exhale back, inhale forwards, softening the elbows. So getting that fluid movement like water coming to center, and then the next time that you exhale, tuck under your toes, coming up to downward dog. But of course, if you prefer to stay in cat, that's fine. Then bend one knee and the other. And I want you to look away. If one heel lifts, look away under the opposite arm, and then going from side to side. So you're just getting a little bit more movement into the back. So just do that a few times. Lovely. And then back down to tabletop. And then we'll just do the circling in the hips again. Exhale, round a few times. So inhale for half a circle, exhale for half a circle, and then going in the other way. And then we'll look to each foot again. So exhale as you just twist around, exhale to the other side. So you're just looking, your gaze comes to the foot. Squeezing in the core as you do all of these. And then we'll just come back into the cat. So we're exhaling, tuck under the tailbone and the chin. Inhale, lengthen the tailbone back, unravel. The top of the head goes forward, and at the last moment looking up. Exhaling into your arch. Inhale, flowing forward, at the last moment looking up. And then we're going to come back to high kneeling. So coming up. Inhale, float back. Exhale, bring the arms forward. Maybe take them up the back a little bit this time. Inhale, floating back. Exhale, if you're okay to come to kneeling down, then you can come to a kneeling position. If not, stay in high kneeling. So coming up and back. Taking the arms back behind you. Inhaling up and back. Lovely. And taking the arms behind you. That's great. And then just shaking out. So that's a really nice little flow that you can do, just joining a few poses together. If you're feeling a little bit stiff, and that will help to loosen everything off a little bit. So we're going to come now to lying on your front, just to do a few things for the hip flexors. So these can be quite stubborn and quite stiff. So if we lie down, you can take your forearms in front and rest your forehead on your forearms. Unless if you feel it's okay in your back, you could rest, it's a little stronger, rest on your forearms, squeezing in your core, and you're coming into a low sphinx pose. So if you're comfortable like this for a while, you can stay like this. You're going to tuck under the toes, raise your knees and push into the pelvis, and then taking the legs down. So we're exhaling, pushing up the knees, and inhaling, coming down. Your feet are about hip width apart. Inhaling up, exhaling, lowering down. So this feels really nice in the back of the legs. You're working the muscles now in the back of your legs. This is also great for keeping the pelvis nice and level. And we'll do it once more. Maybe this time we'll hold it in that position for a few breaths. You could push a little more into your forearms if you're in the Sphinx, but make sure that the core muscles are drawing in strongly. If there's any pinching in the lower back, just come to lying on your forearms with the head. That's lovely. And then coming down. So one forearm on top of the other, and stretch the feet back as much as you can. Then we're going to keep the right forearm in front and take the left hand into a fist under your left leg where the crease is. So again, you can keep the heart lifted slightly if you wish. So we're going to exhale, raise the leg with the toe pointed in slightly, and inhale, lower. So we're exhaling, lifting, inhaling, lowering. Now just noticing here how much of a flow you have and how high the leg is lifting. If it's not lifting very much here, maybe just a few millimeters, then it would be good doing these regularly, because that means you've got quite tight hip flexors, which can lead to less movement actually in the hip. So it's just something to take note of. You might want to make this one of your 5-a-day yoga practices. Do that once more. And then we can go to the other side. So take the other forearm in front. You can either rest the head down, or if you want to work the upper back as well, we keep the breastbone lifted. Take the other fist under the crease of your other leg, the right leg, and then tuck the toes in again. So we're exhaling, lifting, and inhaling, lowering. It's a little stronger if you keep the foot off the ground each time. But if you're finding it a challenge, you might want to let the foot rest on the ground after each lift. And then coming down from here. And then we're just going to push up. So taking your hands, pushing up, and we'll come into an extended child's pose. So you could have your knees a little bit further apart. This gets more into the hips. Lengthen forward as far as is comfortable. Just take a few nice long breaths in this nice extended child's pose. And then coming up from here into sitting, any comfortable seated position. So I'm going to show you, we're just going to look at dolphin pose now. So dolphin is like downward dog, but it really gets into the shoulder blades. So dolphin pose, we come forward. So you've got your elbows under your shoulders, forearms are parallel. You'll be tucking under your toes, hip width apart. And then we're just going to push up with the hips and bend one knee and then the other. So I'll just tuck you into it. So elbows under your shoulders, the forearms parallel, spreading out your fingers and pushing into the fingertips so that you've just got a little bit less pressure in your wrists. And then tuck under your toes. Make the toes nice and active so you can feel those toe joints getting a nice stretch as well. Then we're just going to draw the navel in and gently lift the hips. It's okay if you don't straighten the legs, or if you just lift and lower if this feels a little strong for you. If you're able to hold it here, then holding it. See if you can travel forward on the exhale a little with your nose and then back. So this is quite strengthening now for the shoulders. So we're inhaling forwards, exhaling back. If it starts to feel strong, just drop to the shins. And you can do this from the cat pose where you've got your shins on the ground. And then coming down. And then from here, coming up to sitting, and we'll just move those shoulders that you've just worked. So it's good to get some pressure into the joint sometimes because it helps with bone density. So it's good to strengthen them with these poses like dolphin. So we're going to look now at a few twists, and I've looked quite a bit into the joint, and I want to look at different ways that we can open out the hips tonight in twists. So I'll show you this one. So we're going to do a few lying twists, and I'll just show you this first. So you'll come back to lying. You want to maybe take some support under your head because you'll be lying for a while, and what that can do is lengthen the neck, drop the chin in towards the chest. Even if usually your head is comfortable on the floor, just give that a try because it might just help you relax your shoulders a bit more. Then you're going to take your feet wider than hip distance apart, maybe about twice as wide, and the knees as well. And then you're going to drop the right knee in as far as is comfortable. Now, it might not drop in a huge distance. Just take it as far as is comfortable. If it's okay to take it quite low, then you can think about taking the other foot on top and using that to help weigh it down. But if you've got any hip issues, just take it a little gentle way in. So if you come down to lying and then take your feet twice as wide as hip distance apart, lift the tailbone, lengthen it down so the pelvis is nicely balanced. And then your knees want to be as wide as your ankles. And then you're going to drop the right knee in towards the left thigh. Again, just using your body as a guide as to how far you want to take that. If it's feeling comfortable, you can take your other foot up and just take the ankle up onto the outside of the thigh and just use it to weigh down. You're just crossing the foot to the outside of the leg. So it's the right knee that's coming in, and it's the left ankle that comes onto the outside of the right thigh, just as a little bit extra weight there, just to assist with the stretch, as long as there's no pain in doing that. And if there is, we just stay with using the weight of the leg itself. Nice long out breaths. And then we'll take the foot down, both knees back to center. Then we'll go in the other direction. So now dropping in the left knee. And then you're going to, if it's okay, take the right ankle onto the outside and just use that weight of the right leg to assist with the stretch. Noticing the difference in your hips. So it's very usual to have one side which is weaker than the other for all different reasons. It can be injury, one side is more dominant than the other, maybe more wear and tear. We're just noticing these little vagaries that we all have in our bodies and acknowledging them, which is fine. And then taking the foot down, bringing the knees back up. So we'll just take the knees in and have a nice big circle around with both knees. And then circling in the other direction. And then if you roll up to the side and come up to sitting again, I'll show you another variation. And I'd say that these twists are another one to add to your yoga 5 a day. You can pick the one that you feel is most beneficial for you. So here's another variation here. So for this one, you have your feet as wide as before, but this time you're going to step the feet. Actually, I'll come onto the mat so you can see. You're going to take your feet as wide. So you want to have it on the outside edges of your mat. Then you're going to step both feet right off the right side of your mat. And then if you lift the tailbone and just let it travel a short distance to the right, and then you're going to drop the knees to the left. And if you look down the body, you want to have a straight line from your shoulder all the way down to that knee. And you can just adjust it. So if the knee's up here and you've got a bit of an angle, you just move it back into a straight line. So if you come to lying on your mat, we'll take the feet nice and wide to the outside edges of the mat and the knees as wide. We're going to step over to the left-hand side. Lift the tailbone and let it travel a short distance to the left so it feels that you're in a diagonal line. And then you're going to drop the knees down to the right. If you need a bit of support under your hip, that's fine. You just take a block or a couple of blocks or some blankets and a block if you need a bit of cushioning, which will just keep the knee traveling to the side but with a bit of support, so it's just not going as far and it's rested. And then if you look down from your shoulder all the way down, you should be in a straight line. If you have an angle in that hip, just draw the knee and the foot back so you've got a straight line. Arms out to the side. Taking a few breaths. Now, your other hip might be off the floor at the moment, and that's okay. We're just taking a few breaths. So your pelvis won't be level now. Kind of more on the side of the right hip here. Breathing nice and long into your rib cage. Feeling your joints melting with the breath. And then we'll bring the knees back up. Step your feet back into the center. Center off your hips again. Then take your feet nice and wide. Then we're stepping this time to the right hand side. Both feet off the mat if possible. Lift the tailbone, let it travel slightly to the right so you feel in a diagonal line from your shoulders to your knees. Then your knees drop down to the left. Again, if you need support under either leg, put as much support as you need. Cushions, blocks, anything to keep it comfortable. Then looking down, just move the left leg, so the foot might need to come back a little, so you've got a straight line from the shoulder all the way to the knee. And just take a few breaths here. Just recognizing if you do need support anywhere, to give that support. Letting the breath flow free. Nice long out breath. So if you're doing these at home, you can hold them a little bit longer each time. Good to hold for maybe 10 breaths, I would say, or even longer if it's beneficial. And then taking the knees up. Let the feet travel back onto your mat, squaring off your hips. So it's good to come into Apanasana after these twists. So we take the hands around the back of the thighs or the front of your shins if it's comfortable. You might want to take away this block under your head if you've got one now. So just going to rock the thighs in and away from you. Apanasana, one of the main restorative poses. And we can think about what it's doing here. So we're getting a massaging in the lower back. We're getting a bit of squeeze in the abdomen. So the abdominal and the organs of the body are getting benefits of extra circulation as they squeeze and release. Bit of movement into the arms. Of course, the hips as well. A little bit of healthy compression into the joint. And then we can make it into a neck stretch as well. So if we take the hands onto the knees, what I want you to do now is take your knees one way and look away in the other direction, back to center. So the knees travel one way and the head looks the other way. So we're going from side to side. And we're getting a bit of rotation into the spine. Coming back to center, bringing your foot down onto the mat. If you've shuffled down your mat, as I always tend to do with those, you can come back to where you should be. So we're going to look at something called the jelly wobble now. And when we're talking about jelly, we're talking about the discs, in the spine, which should be not brittle and, obviously should be healthy, plumped up, and this is a great way to do it. So we're going to take the hands onto the knees. So with this one, we draw the knees in and away from ourselves. And we start off quite slowly, and we're just thinking about what's happening here. So if you imagine the spine like a big spring, when we draw the knees in and release, we're getting that compression and lengthening. So it's a bit like a concertina coming together and then spacing out. So if you imagine the spine, what's happening, the discs between each vertebrae are getting a little bit of healthy squeeze and release and helping with lubrication. We're going to speed this up quite a lot to help this movement. So coming in with the knees and away, and then I'm going to do a little rhythm. So if you try and keep to the rhythm with your knees, so tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So they'll move a little bit less. You're just moving about a centimetre up and down with the knees. And you'll feel as you do that, you might get a bit shuffling on your back of your head. Don't worry, it's worth the discomfort for this nice plumping up of the discs. So we're just going up and down, nice and fast. Hence the jelly wobble, because you're getting that. You can feel that in the spine actually, can't you? And then let go. It's quite hard work actually. And then take the arms out to the side, rolling over to your side and coming up to sitting. There, so you should feel very nice and relaxed now. So just moving your joints, how do you feel? How does your hips feel? So let's test out the hips. So if we take the legs out, and I think it would be good to come to sitting on a block. Oops, I've missed my block. Try that again. And then you're just going to lengthen out your legs and just take the fingertips to the sides and flex your feet. So the feet are active, toes pointed up, your legs are working. Then we're just going to exhale, draw the knees, draw the toes in. Inhale out to the side. So exhaling in, inhale out to the side. You can have a soft bend in the knee. It's usually quite helpful for the knee joint. Again, you're just coming to where you feel is comfortable for you. You can take the feet a little wider if it feels better for your hips. Trying to keep the toes in alignment with the center of your knees. Otherwise you're cheating, I'm afraid. So, because then you're moving your ankles more than you're moving your hips, which is not really what we're looking to do. So trying to keep the toes in the center and then flopping in and out nice and quick. There we go. I don't know about you, but my hips feel a lot better after all of that. Hopefully your shoulders do as well. So moving your shoulders, how do your wrists feel? Hopefully you feel like a well-oiled machine. So we're going to just come down now to lying, ready for relaxation. So just putting on anything warm that you'd like. And then coming to lying on your mat. And taking a few nice long breaths when you're down there, once you're comfortable. It's nice to bend the knees and lift the tailbone and lengthen the tailbone out so that when you're lying, the spine's nice and long. It's nice also to come into a bit of a starfish shape with the arms wide away from the sides so you can let go of any tension under your arms, which tends to build up here because we tend to hunch in there. So let the palms come up, take the feet nice and wide, let the toes drop out, and you feel your joints completely loosen off. And then you could just feel the breath in the main part of the body. So bringing your focus down onto the mat. Allow the legs to relax from the feet up to the hip joints. Sink the navel on the exhalation. Notice and encourage a spreading of the lower side ribs as you breathe in. And enjoying a feeling of relaxation in the front of your ribs. And feeling the shoulders rolling open, spreading the collarbones from the center to the sides. Allow the abdomen to relax down and out to the right and the left. Enjoy a feeling of relaxation through the sides of the trunk from the side hips to the side armpits. Relax the back of your shoulders and allow them to sink into the floor, releasing any tension each time you breathe out. Letting go in the back of the shoulders, the shoulder blades, and the upper back. Feeling them sinking into the floor and letting go. Enjoy the feeling of relaxation in the back of your waist. Feeling it moving from the center to the sides of the waist. Relaxing your lower back. Feeling the back of the pelvis sinking down into the ground. So that heart-shaped bone in the back of the pelvis, the sacrum, becoming heavy, sinking down and letting go. Feel the spine lengthen within the relaxed trunk from the tailbone all the way to the top of your head. Relaxing your arms from the fingertips to the shoulders. Have a feeling of spreading in the body as the muscles relax. Allowing a feeling of sinking down in the bones. Relaxing the sides of the neck to just behind the ears. Relax the back of your neck from between the shoulder blades to the base of the skull. Relax the back of your head and the very top of your head. Relaxing the forehead skin from the hairline all the way down to the eyes. Softening the eyelids, feeling the eyes sinking back into their respective hollows. Softening the skin of the cheeks and allow the cheekbones to sink. Softening the skin of the lips and relaxing the jaw from the ears to the chin. Having space between the lower and the upper teeth. Allow the tongue to rest away from the roof of the mouth, behind the lower teeth, helping to disengage your thoughts and your brain. Have a feeling of sinking as it relaxes and the tongue shrinking. Allow the energy of the brain to move down towards the chest, away from your head. Breathing softly, smoothly, and steadily. And if any thoughts come into your mind, letting them go with a nice long, steady exhalation. Notice the joy, comfort, and positivity of this moment. And breathing into the heart center, imagining a bright white light into the heart as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, feeling it disseminating to every cell and pore within your body. White, healing light. And then taking a few nice long breaths, gradually bringing your focus very slowly back to the room around you. I'm going to take a bit of time to come out of relaxation tonight. So moving the fingers, moving the toes, noticing the space in the joints here in the fingers and the toes. Just move your feet a little from side to side, easing out the ankles. And with your feet nice and wide, just flipping the toes in and out, noticing the spacing in the hips. Does it feel a little easier than the start of the class? And with your arms out nice and wide, as the toes come out, bring the palms up. And as the toes come in, bring the palms down. So you're feeling the movement coming into the shoulders as well. Just keep this going for a few breaths. Inhaling, palms up, toes out. Exhaling, palms down, toes in. This little synchronized movement of arms and legs is called the Kaya Kriya. And it was actually first developed for people with spine injuries. So it's great because it keeps the joints mobile. So if you can maybe do it when you go to bed at night, when you wake up in the morning, it'll get the joints loosened up at the very start and the end of the day, if you enjoy it. And then we'll have a nice stretch. So stretch the arms back behind you, stretch up your fingers, stretch out your legs, stretch out the toes. Feel that nice long stretch through the spine. Move your head from side to side. How does your neck feel? Bringing your arms back down by your side. So we'll do that once more. So lengthening the fingers, taking the head from side to side, stretching out your toes. And bringing your hands down back by your sides, bending up your knees. And just a little quote, so the body benefits from movement and the mind from stillness. So Shavasana is said to be one of the most important poses actually in yoga. So that is by Sakyana Mifam. And then if you roll over to your side and coming up to sitting gradually with the eyes closed, rubbing the palms of the hands together to get some warmth into your hands. Feeling the energy in the palms of the hands as well. And the warmth, bringing them onto your eyes. Gradually opening the eyes into the darkness of your palms and then slowly let the light through your fingers. Thank you very much. Namaste. And I want to thank you all because quite a few people mentioned they've been feeling a little stiff. So you probably gathered that was the impetus for tonight. And there's quite a few of you actually. So I thought, oh, I think I know what the theme is going to be this week. So thank you for your inspiration. And I'll just unmute you. Right, that's better. Right, I've done it. And I'll put you all on the gallery.
Hi, everyone. Hi.